Administration, and the time is 2:57 p.m. on Wednesday, the 23rd of March, 2022. I'm calling to order this confirmation roundtable to consider the nomination of Adam Hunter to serve as a member of the District of Columbia Rental Housing Commission. Mr. Hunter was nominated to the position by Mayor Bowser on February 7th, 2022, replacing Rupa Padaganta for the remainder of a term ending on the 18th of July, 2022, and for a new term to end on July 18th, 2025. The Rental Housing Commission is a 3-member independent quasi-judicial body that holds appellate hearings on appeals from the rent administrator or the Office of Administrative Hearings regarding disputes concerning the district's rent control laws. The commission is a part of the executive branch of the DC government and plays a vital role in adjudicating the district's rental housing laws. The 3 commissioners are appointed by the mayor with the advice and consent of the council. One of the commissioners is designated as chair and chief administrative judge of the commission, while the other 2 commissioners serve as administrative judges. Each commissioner must be a member in good standing of the District of Columbia Bar. The commission has 3 attorney statutory functions designed to preserve and increase the supply of quality, affordable rental housing for the residents of the district. First, the commission issues, amends, and rescinds regulations that are promulgated for enforcement of the Rental Housing Act of 1985. Second, the commission certifies and publishes the annual adjustment of general applicability to rents based upon annual changes to the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, for the Washington, D.C. area. This certification is typically published in the early May of each year. Third, the commission decides appeals brought to the commission from the Office of Administrative Hearings and, of course, the rent administrator, which is located in the Department of Housing and Community Development. The commission is, for the first time, acting independently. It has implemented an annual planning process and evaluates its performance and the performance of its employees independently according to high quality standards. As of February 17th, 2022, the commission officially does not have the quorum of commissioners required in order to hear and decide cases, promulgate rules, or exercise any other power. With the advent of the leaving of Commissioner Padaganta, who was nominated by President Biden on February 2nd, 2022, and confirmed by the U.S. Senate to be an associate judge on DC Superior Court, with her last day being on February 17th of this year, 2022. This leaves Commissioner Lisa Gregory, who was confirmed on December 15th, 2020, for a term of commission to end on July 18th, 2023, as the only commissioner serving. A current Ward 7 resident, Mr. Hunter received a Bachelor's of Arts in Economics and Political Science and a JD from Howard University. Mr. Hunter currently serves as a partner at Hunter & Johnson, which is a boutique litigation firm that is largely dedicated to representing DC residents in criminal cases through the Criminal Justice Act. Prior to forming a litigation firm, Mr. Hunter focused on criminal defense and civil litigation at another law firm in the district. With several critical decisions looming for the commission, including the adjustment to the allowable rent increases for rent control properties, it is critical that we fill this important administrative judge position. I look forward to having a full conversation with Mr. Hunter. And so with that, I will ask my staff if I've been joined by any colleagues.
No, council member, it appears you're flying
Okay.
solo. Yes.
All right. So we will now turn to our panel of public witnesses to receive their testimony. And then, Mr. Hunter, we will turn to you. And so public witnesses that we have are Ms. Brandy Harden and Ms. Stephanie Johnson. So we'll start with you, Ms. Harden, and then move to Ms. Johnson. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Councilmember Bonds, Chairwoman, as DC resident 27 years and business owner, and as a member of the DC Bar, I am here today to express my unequivocal support for the appointment of Adam Hunter to the DC Housing Rental Commission. I met Adam in 2006 while serving as a coach and professor of the Howard University School of Law Trial Advocacy Moot Court team. In my first academic year, Adam quickly set himself apart from the other members of the team. The honor of captain is reserved for the team member who has the extraordinary skills and leads other team members with integrity. Adam was the first team captain that I ever selected. And after Adam's judicial clerkship, we offered him employment with the Hardin and Pinckney law firm, where I am the managing partner. Adam is also dedicated to the legal ideals of Dean Charles Hamilton Houston and Justice Thurgood Marshall. It is therefore not a coincidence that 16 years later, Adam Hunter has returned to his alma mater, coaching the same team at Howard University School of Law that he once led as a student. He is truly remarkable. Adam Hunter is also eminently qualified for this position. He has one of the brightest legal minds that I have ever encountered. He is well respected by the bench, the community, and members of the bar. And I am confident that Adam will approach every case with an open mind and will rigorously evaluate cases to render fair and reasoned decisions. I have also seen Adam work with clients as a part of the criminal justice panel at DC Superior Court. He has shown himself to be compassionate and understanding. He's a good legal counsel to individuals who can't afford legal representation. I have also personally been with Adam while visiting clients at the DC jail and working through complex legal issues so his clients could understand the gravity of their charges and the legal cases that are against them. Adam's integrity, his dedication, his legal acumen, and his commitment to the citizens of the District of Columbia will be an invaluable addition to the DC Housing Commission. I am honored to be here before the commission today to provide my unambiguous support for Adam Hunter. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be heard.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Ms. Johnson, we'll now have your testimony.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Councilmember Bonds. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, thank you. Today, I offer my testimony in full support of Mr. Adam Hunter's appointment as an administrative law judge for the District of Columbia's Rental Housing Commission. I have known Mr. Hunter for approximately 17 years. We met as classmates in the same section at Howard University, and since that time, he's been a team partner, co-counsel, business partner, colleague, and dear friend at various points. It's due to his reliability, professionalism, and legal acumen that I have continually chosen to work with him at nearly every phase of my legal career. I am also elated to be before this committee today to testify not just because he's a good friend, but because he is best suited for this position. Mr. Hunter possesses the qualities necessary that make a good administrative law judge. He has a long-standing working knowledge of the landlord and tenant laws of the District of Columbia, which are unique from other jurisdictions. Mr. Hunter and I were student attorneys in the DC Law Students in Court Legal Clinic, now known as Rising for Justice, which is the oldest landlord and tenant legal clinic in the district. During our year at that clinic, Mr. Hunter excelled by offering his clients zealous and effective representation that allowed them to remain in their homes, and in one instance, resulted in his client receiving a significant abatement for living in conditions that violated the district's implied warranty of habitability. Excuse me. Mr. Hunter and I would go on to open our own law firm in the District of Columbia with a practice area in landlord and tenant law. Mr. Hunter was always willing to be lead counsel on our landlord and tenant cases. As such, he handled the majority of those cases that often resulted in favorable results for our clients. Furthermore, Mr. Hunter possesses the temperament and skills necessary to be a fair judge. He is deliberate, compassionate, and able to analyze legal issues holistically. While he has never held a position as a judge, he has proven his ability to utilize the aforementioned characteristics when judging. For example, Mr. Hunter has taught and coached the trial advocacy team at Howard University School of Law for the past 3 years. In that position, I have personally witnessed him judge students who are trying out for the team and judge them during the competition preparation. He always takes time to provide commentary for his students that is useful, further helps their understanding of the legal issues, and boosts their confidence and self-esteem. Mr. Hunter's dedication to his team while handling his own caseload of our firm's clients and his clients appointed to him through the Criminal Justice Act panel in the Superior Court of the District of Columbia is indicative of his tremendous work ethic. Lastly, Mr. Hunter has shown a consistent and vehement dedication to this city and its residents. Mr. Hunter attended Howard University for both his undergraduate degree and his law degree. He has been a resident of the district for over 20 years, living in both the northwest and southeast quadrants of the city. As a student at the Howard University, he often volunteered for philanthropic efforts in the city, and he taught students at Eastern High School constitutional law and oral advocacy skills through the Marshall Brennan Constitutional Literacy Project. Moreover, Mr. Hunter zealously has represented the indigent people of the district charged with crimes to ensure they are treated justly in our criminal legal system. Thus, his dedication to this city and its progress is longstanding and indisputable. The Rental Housing Commission would be fortunate and should be honored to have such an exceptional individual working on behalf of all of us to ensure the integrity of the district's officials and government. I thank the committee for allowing me my time to share my thoughts about Mr. Hunter. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Thank you to both of you. I gathered that we are about to hear from Mr. Hunter with sterling characteristics that anyone would be proud to possess. When I hear, good counsel, brings understanding to the law, fairness, reasonable, someone who really has the disposition. I think these are the characteristics that we usually look to a judge to have. I would like to ask Ms. Johnson and Ms. Harden, in thinking about his disposition, have there been any indications that you have seen that would show him to have little patience with other individuals?
If I may,
All right.
Councilmember Bonds, absolutely not. Mr. Hunter works with difficult clients, difficult students all the time. I've never seen him change his behavior or his temperament. He is always cool, calm, and collected, thoughtful, deliberate, and he's always able to maintain that. Even when he's upset, it never shows. I think his temperament is very even. I've never seen him ever get upset or break out of character.
I must say, Councilmember Bonds, I have absolutely, under no circumstances, seen him lose his patience. And I will say that is something to be quite proud of. I think the law has sort of coined a term called judicial temperament, and that's exactly what he has. I think working in the kind of work that we do, and certainly dealing with folks who have been charged with crimes, they can oftentimes get frustrated, not only with what's happening, but certainly with situations that are going on in their life. And that's why I try to talk a little bit about the fact that I've seen him at the jail interact with folks and be quite patient with their situation. So I think he has an outstanding temperament. I have not seen him lose his patience, and I have not seen him lose his cool with anyone.
All right. Well, how have you or have you observed his the rate of exchange or the speed in which he can accomplish tasks?
Well, let me take that one first, Ms. Johnson, because I must say, Councilmember Bond, he worked for me. And so I have a good understanding of just how quickly he can turn things around. And I will just say he can turn them around as quickly as you asked him to do that. So if you ask him to do it in 6 hours, then he can do it in 6 hours. If you ask him to do it in 2 hours, he can do it in 2 hours. I want to say I tried to give him 24 hours. He will probably tell you that's just not true. Sometimes it was faster than that, and he would always come through. So he can do it as quickly as it's asked to be turned around.
I appreciate that answer, because one of the things that I can imagine we will be faced with is at the commission, there seems to be, it takes a long time to get decisions. I'll just put it out there. And one of the complaints that we hear is that it takes a while. And just wondered if his natural rhythm, from your perspective, is to prod along, or was it on at a faster pace? So that's why I asked that question. And I asked it with him looking in and observing us, which is quite interesting.
If I may answer that question as well, Councilmember. Yes. So as I stated in my testimony, Mr. Hunter and I have had a variety of relationships over the past 17 years. We were section mates where we had to do projects together. We were team partners in clinic together where we had to prepare an entire moot court presentation, and we have worked together at our firm for the past decade. And I can always rely on Mr. Hunter to get things done quickly. I agree with Ms. Harden. Whenever I need something, if I tell him when I need it, that's when I have it. There's never any delay. He's always been dependable and reliable in our professional lives as well as our personal lives. I've always been able to count on Mr. Hunter 100%, and I am a stickler for time and deadlines, and Mr. Hunter always keeps me happy.
All right, well, thank you very much. Is there anything that either one of you would like to add to your testimony at this time?
I would just like to say, I think that the Housing Commission would be in such a good place if they accept the appointment of Mr. Hunter. He is an exceptional attorney, and the commission would be lucky to have someone of his stature to come onto the commission.
All right.
I agree with Ms. Harden. I think the commission would be extremely lucky. And I think since Mr. Hunter has worked in this practice area for so long, he's able to see the issues on both sides of the table and act justly and fairly.
All right. Well, I thank you very much for your testimony today and for taking your time to appear before us. This is a very important appointment. As it was said earlier, this commission determines CPI, and CPI is used as a measure for setting the rents for the properties that fall under the DC Rental Housing Act of 1985. So that in itself is very important to the approximately 60 to 80,000 units that are occupied in the city that are under rent control. So it's a big deal. So thank you very much for your testimony. And we will now turn to, I'm sorry.
I just said thank you for having me.
Oh, you are welcome. We're now turned to the nominee, Mr. Hunter, and we will receive your testimony right now.
Thank you. Good afternoon, council members, My name is Adam Hunter. I am proud to appear before the committee as a nominee to the Rental Housing Commission. First, I would like to thank Mayor Bowser for this opportunity to serve this city. I also like to thank this committee and Chairperson Bonds for holding this hearing. I want to share with this committee my background, qualifications, and an interest to serve as a member of the Rental Housing Commission. Public service is not foreign to me or my family. Both of my parents are retired government state employees. They have instilled in me the appreciation of service to community, the importance of government, and a strong work ethic. I am the proud son of both James and Karen Hunter. Throughout my legal career, there have been 4 women that have been instrumental in my professional development as an attorney. It first began with my judicial clerkship with the Honorable Lorraine Pullen in Middlesex County, New Jersey. After clerking, I worked with my former professor and mentors, Brandy Hardin and Heather Pinckney at Hardin and Pinckney. Lastly, Stephanie Johnson, my law school classmate and my law partner for the last 11 years at Hunter and Johnson, based here in the District of Columbia. For all that they have done for me, the greatest title and accolade I can share with them all is friend. I have spent the majority of my professional career as a trial attorney. My main practice areas are civil litigation and criminal defense. I'm a proud graduate of both Howard University, where I received my Bachelor of Arts degree in economics and political science, and Howard University School of Law. I'm currently barred in the District of Columbia, and I'm also an inactive member of both the states of New Jersey and New York bars. During law school, I taught constitutional law at both Eastern Senior High School and the Youth Services Center. Currently, I'm in the 3rd year as an adjunct professor of trial advocacy at Howard University School of Law. In that capacity, I serve as the coach of its Hoover I. Brown Trial Advocacy Moot Court team. This advanced level class focuses on teaching 2nd and 3rd year law students trial skills. For the past 11 years, I've been a board member of Rising for Justice, formerly known as DC Law Students in Court. Rising for Justice is a legal services organization that represents indigent DC residents in both civil and criminal matters. I want to also address with this committee my qualifications and experiences that make me well suited to serve as a member of the Rental Housing Commission. I meet the technical qualifications as I am a barred DC attorney in good standing, admitted to practice law before the District of Columbia Court of Appeals. I am a proud Ward 7 resident for the last 3 years, and I am neither a housing provider nor a tenant. I also have the professional experience required of the position. I have over 13 years of landlord and tenant experience. I began my work on tenant matters during my 3rd year in law school, where I represented DC residents in landlord and tenant court through the legal clinic, DC Law Students in Court, which I mentioned is now Rising for Justice. Rising for Justice is a 50-year-old organization funded as a consortium of all DC law schools to dispense valuable and free legal services to DC residents. As a member of the Civil Clinic, I represented and advised DC residents facing evictions. I litigated housing violations with landlords and advised tenants of their rights during their initial hearings. I was successful in working out settlements with landlords and holding them responsible for their housing code violations on behalf of DC residents. In private practice, I have represented both landlords and tenants. In that capacity, I've advised tenants and clients on tenant laws and regulations, properly registering rental properties with district agencies, drafting and reviewing leases, and advising clients on court procedures and processes. On behalf of tenants, I have litigated hardship petitions and tenant petitions. On the landlord side, I represented and settled DCRA matters on behalf of landlords before the Office of Administrative Hearings. The majority of my landlord clients are individual owners with less than 4 rental units. I am also a 10-year member of the Criminal Justice Act panel, where I have represented DC residents in both criminal misdemeanor and felony matters. In civil litigation practice, I represented both businesses and individuals with civil claims. I have successfully litigated breach of contract claims, general tort matters, preliminary injunction motions in the District of Columbia. My litigation experience representing both landlords and tenants have given me a strong foundation to be a fair and observant judicial officer. All jurists must commit not only to upholding the Constitution, but valuing the process where all perspectives are heard, evaluated, and respected. Jurists have an obligation to challenge each side on the facts, legal basis, and reasoning. They also have a duty to look at past legal precedent, the facts that are presented on the record, other persuasive authorities, and the arguments of the parties when ruling on a particular case. This jurisdiction in particular strongly favors matters being heard and decided on the merits and not just disposed of on mere procedural grounds. I would like to continue in that practice where parties will receive a fair hearing on the facts of their case and receive legal and just decisions that fairly enforce the housing regulations. When drafting written decisions, I will strive to use language and phrases that the average district resident will be able to understand and follow so that they may know, understand, and value how their government is ruling on their case. This concludes my testimony, and I appreciate this opportunity to share a summary of my education, training, and skills. Again, I thank you for your consideration, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Hunter, for that very strong testimony in those categories that you pointed out. Thank you so much. I wanted to, as you were talking, wondered if you could give us an example. When you say decisions on the merit, what's the first case that you worked on that pops into your head on that? Decisions on the merit.
And so when I refer to decisions on the merits, and it goes back to one of, I can't remember the case off the top of my head, but it gets to the heart of our court not looking at dispensing of landlord-tenant matters because of technical violations, particularly ones where clients, and particularly tenants, have failed to answer a landlord-tenant complaint or eviction. So the first case I think about is going back to law school when I was representing tenants, and a tenant will come to the court with a default judgment. But a default judgment could mean for some people the end of the line of their case and they're being evicted tomorrow. But what we do know in the landlord-tenant context is that default judgments can be rescinded if there's good cause for why a person might have missed that notice. And the court has an obligation to hear the case and the facts of the matter based off of why the landlord has brought the case before the landlord-tenant court and whether or not the tenant had any defenses. And so when I'm thinking of one of my first cases as a law student representing tenants, I remember going in and arguing before the court that they vacate the default judgment and reinstate the case so that the court can actually hear the case on their merits.
Okay, thank you. When you mentioned that you've been involved in tort matters, what comes to mind? Give us an example.
Well, a tort matter, one of the tort matters I've dealt with has been a car accident matter, representing someone that has sustained an injury and then going to either file a suit or working with the insurance company and resolving that claim with the insurance company.
All right, thank you. And as it relates to, what comes to mind when you think of helping people understand the law? And that's been cited by your colleagues, your public witnesses. They talked about how you help people understand the law. So what's the first situation that comes to mind when you hear that attribute given to you?
Well, one of the things I think about when you're an attorney, when you represent clients, I take it on as being a teacher. My job, no matter if it's a civil case or a criminal case, I don't distinguish between my clients and that one client needs to learn, the other doesn't. All clients need to learn. Because in order for a client to make decisions about whether or not they want to sue somebody, whether or not they want to take a plea, settle a case, requires education. My job when I'm a litigator is talking to my clients so that they understand not just what's happening in their case, but how it functions in the law. Because if you're not educating your clients, if you're not speaking to them in a way that helps them to understand the law and their rights, then they can't make knowing decisions of waiving their rights to trial, settling a matter, deciding whether or not they want to close their business down or not. So a particular example for me is really with my criminal clients. They need to know the value of what they're being charged with, whether or not they want to go to trial or take a plea. It requires a lot of education. And as a part-time educator, I enjoy educating people on what their rights are, what the law is, and how it applies to their case.
All right. And so are you familiar with the Rental Housing Act of 1985?
I am familiar, yes.
Okay. All right. So what stands out in that law that gives tenants hope in this city as it relates to affordable housing?
Well, number one, I think what gives tenants hope is that, and what makes our city unique from other cities, is that the Rental Housing Act clearly establishes the rights of tenants, and it gives them several different avenues of enforcing those rights with, for instance, rent control, how landlords can increase the rent, when they can do so, under what circumstances. And so what it's meant to do, from my understanding of the Rental Housing Act, it protects DC residents so that they understand that landlords have responsibilities to the property and the procedures in which they can go about changing the property, as well as the rental rates, and as well as the process for eviction.
As you know, or maybe you don't know, but in the Rental Housing Act, the rent increases, annual rent increases on seniors is tied to CPI. Currently, that is approximately 2% annual increase in rent. In May, this commission will be setting a new CPI, which is about 4.6%. You live here in the city, so you have some ideas about the cost of living and whether or not it affects certain populations. What do you think about the CPI going up and therefore seniors being eligible for that rate?
Now, I have not studied in particular the current CPI rate. I do understand the CPI. I'm a proud graduate of the economics department of Howard University, and I look forward to going in and analyzing the CPI when I get onto the commission. But I don't have a particular position on it at the moment, but I do look forward to receiving the information from the rent administrator and understanding how the CPI affects tenants across the city, and what is the proper and just way to enforce the CPI, and also look at what the DC Code and the Rental Act says about our obligation as a commission in setting that CPI.
Okay, well, it is, the code is clear. It is set by the commission. Be very interested in how that develops later. When I think about the Rental Act of 1985, I think about some of the other provisions in it, which include the process of voluntary agreements, substantial rehab, those kinds of things, and the hardship petitions. These are all parts of the law that affect rental housing that is governed under the rent stabilization process in the district. Do you have any opinions on any of those?
I don't have any particular opinions on the hardship petition and how they are enforced. What I would look forward to is seeing how those issues do come before the commission in what capacity, and making sure that the commission follows the rules and regulations as set forth by the DC Council. But I don't have any particular stance on hardship petitions, although I have litigated hardship petition matters before antenna petitions.
Okay, and in your litigation of hardship petitions, can you give us sort of like a sense of what happened?
Well, one of the things you can think of generally in these tenant petitions is really around whether or not there have been retaliations by landlord, the increase in rental rates when the home was not within substantial compliance with the DC code because of housing code violation. And so those are kind of the general issues. So it's understanding for me the property, understanding the conditions on the property, and whether or not the landlord has effectively met their obligations under the code.
Okay, and so let's see, I'm trying to think of another area. I believe in your testimony, you indicated that you have practiced in the landlord and tenant division of Superior Court here in DC.
That is correct.
Many times, 17 years, I think, or something like that.
It's about 13 years. I'm
13
going back to my
years, okay.
time in law school.
Okay. Do you have a view as to on whether or not the council should consider expanding the jurisdiction of the Rental Housing Commission?
I don't have a particular position on that. And I would like to leave that understanding and whether or not it needs to be expanded to the DC Council.
Okay, all right. If confirmed, do you intend to make the Rental Housing Commission your full-time job?
I do.
In your legal work, can you give us an example of your representation of landlords?
So my representation of landlords usually consists of individual landlords. So that's the majority of my landlord clients. They're not big landlords with several different properties. They're usually those that are exempt from rent control. So usually those that have 4 units or less. Most of the time it's because of non-payment of rent. So it's addressing non-payment of rent issues or sometimes it could be issues of tenants that or landlords who want to regain their property for personal use and occupancy. So most of the time with the landlord clients, it's trying to understand what the law is, understanding what the regulations are around evictions, and then understanding what the timeline is from beginning of the process to the end of the process.
Okay, I have a series of questions that I am required to go over with you. And so for this, I would like to swear you in because
Yes.
this is under oath. All right. And okay, let me find my oath sheet here. And I will be right with you. Well, just use the one from the other office. That'll be fine. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear and affirm that your testimony and statements that you make today are truthful and complete?
Yes, I do.
All righty. Mr. Hunter, the committee provided you with a set of written questions that I understand you will provide responses to no later than Friday at the close of business. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Let's see. First, I wanted to make sure that these questions are put on the record, since we do not have your written responses yet. Do you have any outstanding liability for taxes, fees, or other payments to the district, federal, or other state or local governments, either contested or uncontested?
I do not.
All right. Have you ever been investigated, disciplined, or cited for a breach of ethics for unprofessional conduct by or been the subject of a complaint to any court, administrative agency, professional association, disciplinary committee, or other professional group?
I have not.
All right. Do you or does any member of your immediate family have any interest, financial or otherwise, that may directly or indirectly pose a conflict of interest for you in performance of your duties?
No.
Well, Mr. Hunter, thank you very much. That concludes all our questions that we must get on the record. It's been a delight to meet you, and look forward to hearing more from you, of course. And so thank you for your testimony today.
Thank you, Chairperson Bonds. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes. This concludes today's roundtable, and thanks again to our nominee and to the members of the public that appeared before us. The public record on this matter will remain open until the close of business on Friday, the 25th of March, 2022. In a few days, any member of the public who wishes to submit written comments on this confirmation should please do so by the close of business on March 25th, 2022. The next meeting of the Committee on Housing and Executive Administration will be on Wednesday, the March 30th, 2022 at 12 noon. We will meet to conduct a budget oversight hearing of the Rental Housing Commission, the Housing Authority, and the Department of Housing and Community Development and the Housing Production Trust Fund. With that said, the time is now 3:42 p.m. and this roundtable is adjourned. And thanks again to everyone, including my very capable staff. Thank you.